Good evening, Team Gerwell. We are flipping in fifth with me, Mrs. G. Today we are going to be looking at Topic 3, Lesson 2. And our learning target is, I will be able to use mental math to make multiplication easier. I'll tell you what, today's lesson should just be a review because we went over most of these strategies in our lesson yesterday. Today's vocabulary, we just have one word. It's multiples. Multiples are a number that is the product of a given number and another number. In other words, here, if our given number is 5, in order to find the multiples of 5, we would multiply 5 times 1, times 2, times 3, and keep going. So the multiples of 5 would be 5, 10, and 15. Here is a little tip or a little strategy for you. When you're talking about multiples, whatever your given number is, that will always be the lowest multiple of that number. Okay? So here are some strategies for using mental math. Here we're talking about zeros. We talked about this a little bit in yesterday's lesson too. So first, in this problem, 70 times 60, we're going to underline all of the non-zero digits in both factors. So we'll underline the 7 and the 6. Then we're going to multiply those together. 7 times 6 equals 42. Then we're going to count the zeros in both factors. There's 1 in 70 and there's 1 in 60, so that's 2 altogether. So we're going to write the number of zeros after the product of the underlined digits. So 70 times 60 equals, well, 42 plus our 2 zeros. That's 4,200. See how easy it is to do mental math? Especially when you're talking about zeros. Now here's a strategy for using mental math using those lovely properties we learned about yesterday. So here in our problem, we have 2 times 1,064 times 50. Well, I'll tell you what, I am going to move those around because for me, it's a lot easier to multiply 2 times 50 and then multiply times 1,764. Thank you, associative property, for letting me mix those around. So then I'm going to cross out the 2 and the 50 because I'm going to multiply those together to get 100. So now our problem is 100 times 1,764. Well, considering what we just learned about both the identity property and the strategy using zeros, we're going to go through and we're going to underline all of the non-zero digits. So that's 1 and then 1,764. And we know that when we multiply 1 times 1,764, we get 1,764. But here we have to not forget our 2 zeros that we have here. So we're just going to put those on the end. So now we know that 2 times 1,064 times 50 equals 176,400. Let's try one together. 20 times 50 times 7. Go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to try to work this out the easiest. There are a couple of different ways for you to do it. Just because my way isn't the way you do it doesn't mean it's wrong if you got the same answer. So go ahead and pause the video, figure this one out, and then press play again, and we can do it together. Did you come up with an answer? Okay, well, let's see if it's the same as mine. While I could multiply 50 times 7 relatively easily, then it would be really hard to multiply that product by 20. So I decided to multiply 20 by 50 first. That's why I put them in parentheses. So I know that I've underlined the non-zero digits. So 2 times 5 equals 10, but then I still have a 0 in the 20 and a 0 in the 50 that I need to add on there. So now my problem is 1,000 times 7. And I know that really easily because 7 times 1 is 7, and then I have to add the 3 zeros, which equals 7,000. Maybe you did 50 times 7 and multiplied it by 20. If it worked for you and you could do it in your head and you got 7,000 as an answer, it doesn't matter. Great job. Now you try. Here are 3 practice problems. Go ahead and pause the video, write them in your journal, and I want to see all of your work as you go through all of the different steps that you go through. Don't forget to underline those non-zero digits, and don't forget to add those zeros back in at the end if that makes your mental math easier. Okay, so go ahead and pause it and come back when you're ready. Okay, here are the answers in 3, 2, 1. 4 times 23 times 5 equals 3,300. Number 2, 120 times 2,000 equals 240,000. And number 3, 5 times 324 times 2 equals 3,240. Who would have guessed you would have been able to do all of these really hard multiplication problems in your head by just using a couple of easy strategies and using those wonderful properties that we've been talking about? Great job. Before you go, make sure you checked your work and you wrote how many you got correct. Again, be honest. I don't want to see anybody erasing their original answers. Just write in the correct answer and circle it. Honestly, fill out your self-reflection and fill in the space with any questions you still have. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.